So right from the very beginning, we are seeing that the debates are going on the real purpose of art, what is the meaning of art, and what is the place of art in a society. It was Plato who ignited this debate, who was the first person who called out for this debate and who says that art is an imitation and it corrupts the society. But then came Aristotle, and then came the Roman poets, or you can say Roman critics, who says that art is not imitation but it is to teach and delight. And then in English literature, it was Philip Sidney who is the first, considered to be the first British critic, who came up with his another defense of poesy, or you can say apology for poetry, where he says that art is amalgamation of history and philosophy to teach, to you can say to give the ethical values, to transfer the moral values to the people. And then this debate that what is the purpose of art in a society went on for many years, for many centuries, for 500 years, 1000 years, until we arrived in 1850s, where Karl Marx came up with his another theory, the real purpose of art in a society. According to Marxist point of view, art is nothing but a product of society. It is a commodity. It is a means through which the capital benefits are gained in a particular society. Art is used to spread false consciousness, to spread ideologies among the people through books, through literature, through movies, advertisements, so on and so forth. And this remark went on to hurt a lot of people, a lot of artists, that how someone can say that art is politics, art is nothing but a means through which we can earn the capital gains in the society. A lot of artists were fed up with these kind of theories, with these kind of debates that have been going from since the beginning of Plato to Aristotle, Roman critic, British literature, so on and so forth. Then there came a new literary movement known as Aestheticism, which says that art is nothing but art is simply an art. Art has no function in the society. Art is not to teach, not to delight. Art is self-contained in itself. Art is autotelic. You should not connect it or associate with any other moral teachings or any other, you can say, ethical values, moral values, politics, capitalism, so on and so forth. Art is inner expression of a man. A slogan which is associated with this particular movement, aestheticism, was arts for art's sake, which simply means to create art just for the sake of art. And the work which is called the Manifesto of Aestheticism was Studies in the History of the Renaissance by Walter Pater. Try to remember the title of this book, because in many previous year questions or in many competitive exams, the title of this book have already been asked in the previous year questions. Studies in the History of the Renaissance. Alright, so in this video we are going to discuss what is aestheticism and what all are the points that are important from UGC-NET perspective. But before we continue our discussion on aestheticism, if you are one of those students who are preparing for UGC-NET examination or GATE examination in English literature, then you can simply check out our study material on both paper 1 and paper 2 on our official website limitlessliterature.com. Check the link in the description below to know more about our study material. Now without any further delay, let's continue our discussion on aestheticism as a literary movement in English literature. As I just mentioned, that Walter Pater played a significant role in establishing this literary movement in history of English literature by publishing the work The Studies in the History of the Renaissance. Actually, the word arts for art's sake have already been used in other languages, and it was already used by Edgar Allan Poe, and a lot of people have already used arts for art's sake, art for art's sakes. But it was the movement aestheticism which is strongly linked with this particular slogan, art for art's sake. You see, a lot of changes were taking place during the Victorian period. A sudden shift or sudden improvement of knowledge during the Victorian period after departing from Romantic age. You see, a lot of theories were invented. For instance, we have Karl Marx in 1850s. In 1860s, we have Charles Darwin. In 1890s, we have Sigmund Freud, who discovered conscious and unconscious mind. And then colonialism was there. Industrialization was at peak during the Victorian period. period, and then literacy rate increased quite drastically. In their free time, people used to read a lot of books, they used to gather a lot of information. It was sort of entertainment. Reading novels was sort of entertainment for them, just like we have today OTT platforms, Amazon Prime, Netflix, Hotstar, so on and so forth. At the Victorian period, it were the novels who were sort of entertainment, and Charles Dickens, Jane Austen were providing them the sort of entertainment that Victorian people required at that period of time. So a lot were going during the Victorian period. In fact, I would say that after Elizabethan age, which was marked by the Renaissance period, this Victorian age is the second most important age in the history of English literature. A lot of discoveries were ongoing, a lot of writing styles were invented, as we have discussed: pre-Raphaelite movement, realism, naturalism, impressionism, and then now we have aestheticism in English literature. And apart from Walter Pater, we have Oscar Wilde, which gave a new direction to this literary movement, aestheticism. Oscar Wilde wrote in his preface to the Picture of Dorian Gray that all art is quite useless. You may think that all art is quite useless is a negative remark that came from Oscar Wilde, but it is not so. What he means by is that all art is useless. That is, the art has no purpose, that art has no implication to show the reality, to show the moral purposes, to show the teach and to delight. Do not try to associate art with anything else. Do not try to associate with history, philosophy, to sublimity. Art is just an art. So the work, The Picture of Dorian Gray, comes under this particular literary movement, aestheticism. And apart from that work, we have other works like The Importance of Being Earnest, An Ideal Husband, and Lady Windermere's Fan. All these works are important, and you must have a little knowledge. At least try to go through the summaries of these works, because in the previous year they have already been asked the title and the work associated with the author from these work. I think that was in the question paper, that which was who has written the work Lady Windermere's Fan. So the answer to that question was Oscar Wilde. You have to check the previous year questions, I'm not sure about it. So according to Oscar Wilde and Walter Pater, art is just an art. Look it as a self-contained identity, an autotelic piece of work. Do not try to associate it with something else. But we are also not sure whether this is true or not, because we see a lot of hidden elements that Oscar Wilde has deliberately used to show something, to reveal something in the society. No artist is isolated from the society. Every artist is a product of society, and it is very much common, it is natural that whenever a person writes a work or whenever a person creates a painting, there are some hidden elements he deliberately, he consciously or unconsciously put in the piece of work. So I leave it on you, whatever you decide is true for you, whether it is to teach and delight, or it has moral values, it has ethical purposes, or it is imitation, or you can say it is self-contained and autotelic. Depends on you. Whatever you decide must be true for yourself. For me, art is still to teach and delight, but it depends on person to person how he perceives an art. So this is what all I have to share in this video. I hope you found the video worth your time. If you are new to this channel, then don't forget to subscribe the channel for more updates on English literature. That's it for this video. Thank you.